Yes, we are back. This is the Weigh In podcast. It's been a while, but it's only right we return to discuss all things boxing. Happy New Year, all. Here's to a much better 2021. I'm Clive, and joining me today, we have both Steve and Ray. How are we doing, chaps?
Yeah, good. Like you said, we're gonna we're gonna we're gonna what would make 2021 better than an episode of the Weigh-In, but it wouldn't be an episode of the Weigh-In without saying Steve in the house.
Ray back in the building. 2020 was a bit of a weird one. We kind of predicted that, so we went missing for that whole year as well.
Self-isolating.
Yeah, we were pioneers, if you would say.
Yeah.
There was me thinking that Deontay Wilder would have made his return before us, but there you go. So if you're a regular sparring partner of ours or previous listener, welcome back. And we appreciate you. And if this is your first time on the scales tuning in to the Weigh-In podcast, welcome. So don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Place a comment on any future topics you would like us to cover. So first things first, boys, Garcia Campbell. Stephen, talk to me.
Wow, what a performance from the young man. As far as like coming out parties go, it was a very good opponent. Luke Campbell, obviously from the UK, who we know very well, Olympic gold medalist in 2012, and I think you'll all agree, a very credible and good fighter. And on that night, it wasn't his night, it wasn't his best performance. I think Luke Campbell will probably be a little bit disappointed in the way that maybe he fought. But wow, Garcia, a tremendous performance, a tremendous fighter, and I feel like he has a lot of star quality.
Yeah, it was a fantastic fight. After the second round, I was on the edge of my seat. I thought, wow, is Luke going to pull this off? But Garcia overcome that, and it was a fantastic win for him. Devastating liver shot. Raymond?
Listen, he came through the test. I think, obviously, at first, everyone thought this was a bit of a gimme fight. And then I think Luke came in and stamped it in the second round, just letting Ryan know that this ain't going to be no easy test. And for a while, I guess people thought that this Ryan Garcia thing was a facade. Everyone thought that second round when he got dropped, it's like, oh, there it is. As soon as this star has risen, it's just fallen just as quick. And kudos to him. He persevered, which I think is also the signs of, I'm not going to say a champion like the Zone was saying, but the signs of a great fighter. So let's see if he can make that champion status. Let's not go ahead and give him that champion status without actually getting it, because we know WBC are just handing out belts. If they would like, they could please hand us some belts as well. I'd like to have that on my mantelpiece. I want that email championship as well.
I think that's it. I think that in every fighter's career, you have what's known as a gut check. And this was his gut check. He got hit with that left hand in the second round and he got put over. And in a fighter's career, you can lose your gut check or you can win your gut check, but it's how you come back from that, which is the big thing. But he managed to get up from it, show that, fight through the adversity. And he was fortunate enough to win this fight for him and come out looking $1 million and go through his gut check. So he gets the benefit of two things at once. So an amazing night for him, and he must be over the moon tonight.
Yeah, watching that fight after that second round, for me, Garcia picked up most of the rounds. I don't know how you boys saw it.
It was tight. I did think at times that Luke was a bit tentative. I believe it was harsh at the time, but once again, Teofimo Lopez Sr. has predicted it. He said Luke has a loser's mentality, which I think was the wrong thing to say, but was in the right ballpark. And what he meant was, once you get used to losing, it's kind of like it's in you to do it again, as harsh as it sounds. Because I remember there was I believe, was that the Errol Spence fight night when Teofimo Lopez Sr.
backstage
said that,
with Eddie Hearn.
Backstage, yeah. And I remember at the time, everyone's just like, oh my goodness, it's so harsh to say. And I get it, the wording was very harsh, but what he did say did have a point in that psychologically, some fighters aren't the same. After a loss, some fighters just aren't the same. Then not everyone can be Lennox Lewis in that you come back even stronger after a loss. Sometimes it takes a fighter a while to do that. And I think with Luke Campbell, what didn't help was the fact that he never took no easy fights after losses, which is commendable, but sometimes you do need that bit of a step down just to regain your confidence and to let yourself know that you're a winner.
Interesting that you said that. Like, I didn't actually. I saw the headline on YouTube videos for that clip, but I never actually knew he said that. But as I was watching the fight,
along those lines, anyway, let me not directly quote him before he starts cussing at us.
But I've followed Luke Campbell's career. I watched him all through the Olympics, as I'm sure most British people probably did, really supporting him. And I've watched pretty much all of these fights coming through, from Tommy Coyle in up in Hull to Yves Mendy when he lost, and then he rematched and won. And I thought there's something different tonight. And I think you're right, exactly right, Ray. I think he got in there, and once he felt the strength of Ryan Garcia, I think in his mind he thought seeing 12 rounds here would be a win. Doing something good would be a win. Once he put him over, he thought, I've looked good here. I've done my job. I've sort of, if I lose, I'll lose commendably, which is a win for me, because maybe he kind of admitted to himself he's not at that sort of Devin Haney, Teofimo Lopez, and now Ryan Garcia level. And I think I kind of got that vibe today, that he was just kind of happy to be in there, happy to be competing, but maybe not believing that he's going to win. And you're right that before he lost a few times, there was that spite, that aggression, that energy in his fighting, which I didn't see. He fought well, but he was giving a good account of himself. He didn't look like he was like that real belief to me. I think you're right.
Back to your point, Raymond, about Luke taking on easy fights. I don't think he was in a position to do so, being at the age of 32, 33. I felt that, this was a massive opportunity for him to put him back on that world title picture. What now for Luke Campbell?
Boxing's a game. I wouldn't say British level. Boxing's a game of snakes and ladders. Like, you've seen it all before, and you can kind of you can play a conservative game where he could have sat in the UK and he could have sold, like, without COVID happening. Unfortunately, COVID has upset the apple cart completely. But he could have sat in the UK, sold a lot of tickets, fought on a lot of matchroom shows, picked up credible wins, built up a nice record, and then maybe waited for a vacant title to come available, and then try and get that over to the UK, where he'd have a really good chance of winning that. But he decided to be really aggressive in his career. He's a little bit older, and he thought, I'm going to take this opportunity. But as a result, he was majorly the B-side. And you could see by the production, I saw on Twitter a lot of people criticizing DAZN for their commentary, the way they built the fight up all week. And just generally, the judges were going to do him no favors. All the close.
They bloody put the camera on Ryan Garcia when it was Luke's entrance. I said, "How disrespectful can you get?" I was just like, "I know that's your guy, but come on, show a bit of decency."
That kind of exemplifies exactly the position that he was in going into the fight. You kind of felt like he's the B-side here. He's the guy that's supposed to lose, and he put himself in that position. He gave himself. You can take that risk, and he gave himself all to do to try to win that fight. And unfortunately for him, it didn't pan out. But I'm sure that if Luke Campbell, if he stayed in the UK and he got some wins, and then maybe these guys move up in a year's time, which there's talk of them doing, or the belts become a bit fragmented, one of the belts comes available, he gets that back to the UK. There's a lot of fighters that Luke Campbell could beat. Maybe just not those top 4 guys, but outside of that, he could beat a lot of guys.
I don't know if mentally he is there to do that. Like I said, sometimes it's like there's many people that we've seen in the past that, just because the physical ability is there, mentally do you have that edge? And I feel like I'll never want to tell a fighter you don't have it. That's disrespectful.
Yeah.
But what I can say from my observation is there are questions that are going to arise from his performance, because when you are a certain level alternative, it's just like, people are going to start thinking, do you have it in you to pull that trigger when you need to? Do you have it in you to take that risk when you need to? And sometimes it is a case of, are you in your own way of pulling the trigger? And I hope not for Luke Campbell. And sometimes, like I said, at this point, it is maybe a case of dropping the level of opposition down a bit just to start firing on certain cylinders, just to start believing in yourself again. Do you know what? I can do this. And once you build up that confidence, that's when you go back to the drawing board of, oh, do you know what? I can take out these guys, because ability-wise, we all saw it yesterday. He dropped him with a clean shot.
Yeah, it was a lovely setup.
And I think a sharper him could have finished him, or at least could have had a more dominant performance. But it just felt like there's a certain, well, I forgot what round it was. I remember the round that Ryan Garcia, it might have even been a round after he got dropped, and Ryan Garcia just came out firing back at him.
Yeah, he was trying like, all sorts of combinations.
Yeah, and it was just like, Luke, you dropped him. How are you going to let him come back? You're meant to be firing on him.
And I remember around round 6, I think it was, so like maybe round 5, round 6, just before the ending, Luke hit him with a good backhand with the left hand, and like it landed completely flush. It looked flashy on the cameras. It snapped Ryan Garcia's head back, and then Ryan Garcia unloaded a 10-punch combination, and that kind of shows what Ray's talking about. That championship confidence. Like you ain't hit me like that, and then you're going straight back to it. Whereas Luke, you know, if he took a shot like that, he's taking a step back. He's regrouping. He hasn't got that kind of instinct, that winning instinct that he needs to build back up. But like you say, Luke Campbell's a guy that won an Olympic gold medal. He's a guy that lost to Izmendi, but then came back and won the rematch. He's been 12 rounds with Lomachenko in a close fight. 12 rounds with Linares in a close fight. He's a guy. He's a world-class guy, and he's a strong mentally guy, I would say. But just it wasn't his night, and this is world-class boxing, and he can come again. But he just needs to be a bit smarter in his approach now, because he is kind of in the last chance saloon. Yeah. So he needs to build. He needs to build that properly.
Yeah. As for Garcia, so he's mandatory to fight Devin Haney for the WBC title.
He's gonna run away.
Which one? Who's gonna run?
Garcia's gonna run away from Haney. Is not the biggest. Did you know is a catch-22 for Garcia, because he's either gonna do one or three things. He's gonna take a bunch of gimme fights to build up his profile even more before he gets murdered by Tank, or he's gonna take the Tank fight and get murdered. Or 3, which is the most unlikely scenario, is take the Haney fight, which is the mandatory, which is 1, a tricky fight, and 2, Haney will neutralize Garcia, and it may not be a fun fight, unfortunately. That's the fight I want to see. That's the fight that Haney deserves. That's the fight that makes the most sense, both under the zone. They'll both be able to work with promoters that have worked together well. I believe they're both, Matchroom and Golden Boy. I'm sure that
they're both
this should be the easiest fight to make, and I bet you any money they're going to try and make the Tank fight, and we know there's going to be a bunch of hoopla to make that Tank fight, and then that's going to be drawn out. But
you're not giving him a shot at all against Tank.
Tank will tank him. Did you not see what he done to Santa Cruz? You're letting Luke Campbell drop you. No disrespect to Luke Campbell, yeah. If Luke Campbell's catching you with that, if you let Tank catch you with that, it's night.
All right,
someone getting a pillow.
How about this?
Luke Campbell's a 6-foot southpaw Olympic gold medalist. You know, that's a very awkward style.
Ryan Garcia showed that he can get touched. That's my main thing.
And he showed that he carries a lot of power himself.
Listen, I'm not denying that, but there's too much defense deficiencies that Garcia showed that if Tank hits you, you're going to sleep.
How about this? All right, let's flip the script here. Lomachenko wasn't able to put away Campbell. Neither was Linares. Garcia pulled it off. And we'll talk about Lomachenko in his prime.
In devastating
I'm not going to deny that of Campbell or Lomachenko or Linares. I'm not doubting the fact that Ryan Garcia has power. But what I'm saying is, can your chin, because it will get touched. That's my thing with Garcia. What you've shown is that chin will get touched. And when that gets touched by Davis, can you get back from that? And especially the fact that Campbell allowed you to get back into that fight because he's good at awkward. It's almost like a karate style.
Answer me this,
Ray. You let a killer like Davis get a chance like that, he's pulling you away.
Answer me this, Ray, because I feel like with Davis, there's like a lot of recency bias because of the Leo Santa Cruz knockout, which is a beautiful knockout. But Leo Santa Cruz is a former bantamweight. So
move up.
That's
would
very
Ryan,
true.
I finish. What would Ryan Garcia do to that Leo Santa Cruz? Would that create the same? Would that create the same recency bias? Then we would all say, "Oh, look at that stoppage of." I've seen Davis turn in some real dud performances in his time, and it all comes down to the night. And it's a very, very good fight, I think.
No, listen, I definitely agree with you because you're right. It was a lighter weight guy, but the main thing is Davis has shown that he's got that in him. So even on an off night, we still seen him sleep some people, even if it took a while. So then that's my main thing is that, like I said, it's not the fact that I'm just got the Santa Cruz win in my mind. It's the fact that on an off day, Davis has still got TKOs in him. And furthermore, Garcia has defense deficiencies that a higher caliber fighter is going to put your way. Because if that's the case, I'm not trying to be funny. Take the Haney fight because it's easier to make. Get that unified WBC belt. If you really want to be this big champion, unify that WBC belt. Get the belt from Haney and then take on Tank. Get some more leverage under your belt, because the way DAZN was talking about how he's the shot caller, I said shot caller of what? With no belts. Stop that. What? Because he's got bigger Instagram following. Stop it. I get it. I get cash. Listen, I get that cash rules. I'm not denying that. But there is a certain point where it's just like cash cannot rule that much that you're gonna call people that stupid to think that Garcia is the shot caller between Tank. Is he the shot caller against Haney? Absolutely. Will he be the shot caller against Lopez and Tank? Absolutely not.
But Ray, he had Canelo at his fight. He was celebrating with
man. So did Ruiz. Ask him how he went the second time against Joshua.
Yeah, true.
Mate, look at this division. Right. It's so
Clive, where do you think of the lightweight division right now? What do you think the future holds for the lightweight division? And how do you see that playing out in the next year to 18 months?
It's nuts. You got, Teofimo, you got Tank, you got George Campozos. It stacks.
Who's Cambozo's promoter?
Not too sure his promoter is. He was on a Usyk Chisora cards. He picked up a split decision win against Lee Selby.
I think the division's in a good place, but then the boxing difficulty of politics comes into play, because how is Top Rank with a history against, like, even if we wanted to do, for example, Tank against Lopez, that history of Mayweather not having a good relationship with Top Rank is going to come in. And then I don't know how well Top Rank plays with Golden Boy or Matchroom. So
we're seeing with I think a good example of this is Errol Spence and Terence Crawford, right? So you're seeing that there, and that just kind of lays the blueprint of how this could potentially play out. How long we've been waiting for these fights, but on the flip side of that, they've had to fight everyone else. So if Crawford fights a top level guy, then Spence has to come back and fight Keith Thurman. He has to fight Danny Garcia. Yeah. So you kind of get these kind of subsection fights, which are very, you're getting an
if Crawford is thinking smart, secure that Pacquiao fight, get that belt from Pacquiao, and then you can go back to Spence and tell him 50-50. Because for now, I do agree with Errol Spence that it is more 60-40. 70-30 was a bit of a stretch. I thought Errol Spence was being a bit cheeky with that, but it's definitely 60-40 in Spence's favor. But if Crawford can beat Pacquiao and take that belt, because what I don't like is the way people are saying, "Oh, why are you chasing Pacquiao? He's an old man. He has a belt. Tell Pacquiao, fight or vacate. Simple as."
Well, that was Keith Thurman's game plan, isn't it? You see how that ended.
Yeah, no, but listen, if Crawford saying he's the best,
that guy keeps coming back, man. Pacquiao.
Of course, but that's why I think Crawford should just forget the Spence fight for now. Get that Pacquiao fight, secure that belt. Look, Bob Arum is best friends with Pacquiao. Pacquiao's in a position now where he doesn't have to worry about the politics of fighting, because he's basically a free agent after every fight. Unless Bob Arum is trying to protect Pacquiao from Crawford, which I think he is doing, make that Crawford fight. This guy wants to always complain about Crawford not being a star, this, that, and a third. Make him a star and let him have Pacquiao, unless you're going to keep on protecting Pacquiao, even though he's not your fighter anymore.
Yeah, talking of Crawford, do you think Top Rank will renew his contracts? Or do you think he would even want to stay on with Top Rank? So that opens doors with him joining
words.
PBC. If that was the case, then, you know, the likelihood of us seeing Crawford and Spence is at better odds.
I think that fight's a long way away, but let's stick with the lightweights because that's where we're.
Let's
What do you
took a
think
bit of a sidebar.
what do you think the most likely fight that will get made in that lightweight division? What of those? You know, the four guys. Let's go through them. Teofimo Lopez. He just took Lomachenko's belts, and it was a massive upset, and probably one of the fights of this year, biggest upset of this year for sure. And then you've got Ryan Garcia last night. We saw the devastating performance he put on. Devin Haney, Matchroom's young superstar, who they're dubbing the new Mayweather. And also Tank Davis, who, as Ray has alluded to, is an explosive come-forward fighter with vicious knockout power. Go and Google the Leo Santa Cruz stoppage by Tank Davis if you want to see an example of that. Which fight do you think is most likely to get made in that little quartet?
Garcia, Haney. They're both under the DAZN umbrella. It should be an easy fight to make.
I think they're gonna price out Haney on purpose. They're gonna give Haney some piss take of a offer. They're gonna give Haney like 70-30.
Don't know. He's getting a lot of stick as it is, being an emo champ. He's been out for a while with an injury. He hasn't really taken off as we all expected.
Haney, because
one they're gonna, give him that push.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm just saying. I think this year will be his year. He's gotten a lot of stick over the past year or so, and I think he's in that position where he wants to really tell the public that I'm the man in this division, and I think that's the next fight will be him against Garcia.
There's a bit of an undeserved stick for Haney because obviously injuries and such. The only thing is obviously the Gamboa fight wasn't a good fight to take because of how Tank took out Gamboa. The pressure was on Haney in that you have to be more impressive than Tank was.
Yeah. I think
what I'm saying is, remember Tank took out Gamboa before he took out Santa Cruz. Yeah. And even though that was a long fight, he did take out Gamboa. Oh man, talk about it. But
these guys will, and they're quite shameless in their approach as well. These guys will think nothing of. They'll be like, he's been injured. We can't get the money together because of COVID. So how can we make these fights? There'll be endless excuses. I personally can't see any of those fights getting made
at all
in the next 12 months because I think that they all make money on their own. Haney makes good money on his own with a credible opponent, but maybe not the best opponent. Ryan Garcia certainly generates a lot of buzz with a credible opponent, but maybe not the best opponent. I think Tank Davis is the weak link. Teofimo Lopez is doing his own thing. He's I don't think any of them want to fight him anyway. I think that Teofimo, they're looking at what he just done to Lomachenko and they're thinking, leave that guy over there. But then I think Tank Davis, I think he's the only one that will potentially sign a B-side negotiation contract because he's not the star that Devin Haney is. He's not the star that Ryan Garcia is. And he's not Teofimo Lopez with all the belts.
That's arguable because Davis is now officially a pay-per-view fighter. So I don't think. And with Mayweather on his side, Mayweather was going to be we are not taking B-side for no one.
It's been a long time though, and he's been hanging around with Broner, and they've done it all. They've done the whole marketing thing, but for whatever reason, it just hasn't taken off. I think people see Gervonta Davis. He has issues outside of the ring. He blows up in weight outside of the ring. And for me, he just doesn't exude that sort of level of superstarness that you want your champions to kind of exude. I see Adrian Broner problems there. Not saying he's not talented, but I think just the perception of him. You look at Ryan Garcia, you see $1 million. You look at Devin Haney, you see $1 million. Don't get that from Tank Davis. And I don't think the numbers reflect, the sort of that stardom. So I think he would be willing to maybe, out of Devin Haney, Garcia, I think he's the one that maybe would be willing to take. And like you said, he's probably looking at these guys thinking, I'll knock both of those out. So why not? So hopefully that could be a fight that could get made. And one of the more exciting ones is a more exciting fight than Haney against Garcia because that's a real boxing match. Whereas any of those two against Tank Davis, they're going to have to dig deep and war with the boy. And then that leads for a more exciting fight. So I think that would be my hopeful one, and I think it's the more exciting fight to get made anyway. So fingers crossed that can get made.
Cool. Chats, we're missing out one name, Lomachenko.
Was there a rematch clause with him and Teofimo?
No, I
don't
think
there
he
was.
might have looked
Well,
past. He
Lomachenko
might
was
have passed
confident, right?
Lopez. Yeah, I think that's what it was. I think he just. I don't know whether it's like he looked past Lopez or it just might have just been a thing of like they just never, like you said, they just never considered that they could have lost to Lopez. And then now Lopez is like, yeah, and to be fair, it's going to be interesting because does Lopez go to pay-per-view now? Because both of them took basically pay cuts to make that fight happen. And Lopez is now in a position to say, do you know what? I don't want to make a cut and I don't want to take another pay cut again because I've just done that. So now Lopez is in an awkward position of you're at top rank. Can you get enough top level fighters to fight you? And will it be pay-per-view worthy?
But the thing about Teofimo, he's a big guy. And like he could go up to 140. He could do a Crawford, go to 140. He could really, he's got the marketability. Like, he's just dethroned a legend of the sport in a massive upset. He's got all the talk. He's got the right look. He's a great boxer. He's a fantastic fighter, and he's got the size. Importantly, so the world is that guy's oyster. Like especially without a rematch clause, he just needs to wait, bide his time. I think the rematch with Lomachenko probably makes the most sense, but he obviously has his advisors and whatever's going to make the most money for him. I think he's young as well. How old is he?
He's in his mid-20s.
Below 25. All of them are below.
Yeah.
Tank is, 25 or 26, and the rest of them are below 25.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all babies. I think Teofimo is probably looking at the whole thing. He's probably thinking, he's probably very confident right now about his position, who he could beat in the division.
So he should be.
He's sitting there on top of the tree. He's got all the belts. He's just beat a legend of the sport. He's probably good. Like for his next fight, he's looking at $1 million contracts probably, or in the high hundreds of thousands, and he's probably just thinking.
Yeah, he was ring magazine fight of the year, right? Both him and Tyson Fury.
Deservedly.
Joint Ring Magazine Fighter of the Year with Tyson Fury.
Yeah.
I think he deserved it solely. I can't lie. Only because Fury was expected to stop Wilder, whereas Lopez wasn't expected to.
I don't know if I expected to stop. I think.
Okay, not expected to. Fury wasn't expected to stop Wilder. He was expected.
Fury was expected to beat Wilder, but
whereas Lopez one was more like
this is just.
This is. I think they thought it was going to be a come out show of more like he's going to put up a valiant effort, but he'll be losing, and they weren't expecting him to be the president.
And I think as well, with the Ring Magazine, that's such a prestigious title that Tyson Fury's already a star. He's already famous. Do you know what I mean? He's already doing amazing numbers. His last pay-per-view sold close to 1 million pay-per-view buys in America and probably a lot more in the UK. So he doesn't need it. But Teofimo Lopez, for him to get that prestigious title is an amazing thing for his career. So he finishes the year, Ring Magazine Fighter of the Year, pretty much all the belts in the division, and a win over Lomachenko. What a year!
Wait, so does Davis have the WBA regular belt, and Lopez has the super?
Yeah, I think the lightweight division is one of them, innit?
Lord, no, I think WBA does that in every single division, which I think is just ridiculous.
Yeah, he doesn't have the WBC proper title. He's got like a WBC diamond.
So Javante's got the regular champion WBA, and Rolando Romero, interim champion WBA.
So who's got and what Lopez has the super?
So Lopez has WBA, IBF, WBO, and the Ring Magazine.
Because if that's the case, I can see a case of Davis just moving up. If Davis can't bother with the politics, he might just I'm gonna go up to 140 because I just don't want to do the politics.
He hasn't got the style or the size to move up in weight. I think that'd be a bad move for that guy.
Yeah.
I think he relies a lot on.
It's an awkward thing though because it's like he cuts to make 135. He kills himself.
I know, but it's gonna be a case of similar thing to Broner, isn't it? Broner was a fantastic fighter at 130, 135, where his size and his strength were imposing on fighters. As soon as he moved up to 140 and 147, he lost a lot of his attributes.
That was Broner's problem. 140 wasn't as bad. 147 was his problem. Whereas with Tank, I think if Tank goes up to 140, that's not as bad, and he might just do that if the politics if like things get logged at 135, Tank might just say, do you know what? You guys can have this. I'm gonna go up to
I
140.
think there's some excellent fights out there.
For sure.
We've got our very own Josh Taylor in the UK who he could get involved in all of those fights. He's also got a couple of belts.
And
he's eyeing up Ramirez, isn't he?
Another one as well.
Yeah,
give it a few more years. Shakur Stevenson looks like he's gonna make his way up to 135 as well. So that's an interesting one as well.
Yeah,
I remember him in the Olympics. Very, very good fighter.
All right, boys. Gonna wrap this episode up now. So yeah, give us your thoughts on who you reckon is going to be the king of the lightweight division later this year. So would it still be Lopez? Would it be Tank? Would it be Garcia? Or someone else? Next week we'll be talking about our 2020 fights of the year. So loads of fights to mention. Fury, Wilder being one of them. And yeah, thanks for listening. Like, subscribe, all of that. Peace out.
We back.
Good to be back.